How's it going, everyone? Badger here. And there are certain movies that when I'm watching it, I'm counting down until I get to hear what either Gary, Mahler, or Critical Drinker are going to say about there's going to be a rant coming. This one, Rebel Moon, the whole time I was watching it, if you watched my review, I watched it with Gary and the rest of the fellowship on his members only chat. And yeah, there were many comments. And one of the big ones was, oh boy, wait until Drinker gets a hold of this movie. And here we are, Rebel Moon, a galactic disappointment. He sort of put out a first reaction view of it. That basically, I think the title was Rebel Moon is kind of shit. But this is his actual review. I, of course, was on Christmas vacation when this came out. So here we are. Let's react to it together. And we'll pause as we go through it.
Right. Unlike the subject of today's
And a movie's great when it starts out with a space vagina. I say that ironically.
video, I'm not going to waste your time with long, tedious preambles that go nowhere and suck your will to live so that you end up looking more ill than the characters in this turd of a movie. Let's just get right down to it, shall we? Rebel Moon sucks. It's nothing but 2 hours and 14 minutes of bloated, self-indulgent, derivative, narratively incontinent, visually depressing, clunkily written nonsense. And it's the final nail in the coffin of the idea that Zack Snyder still has something to offer as a
Okay, so clearly you could see he wasn't the biggest fan of it. Yeah, I said in my review that it felt like watching someone play a video game. But the entire time, the only thing they were doing was doing side missions, and not even the good side missions, but like the open world side missions and getting companion characters. But then those companion characters were shallow and had no story, and I didn't care about them after 2 hours.
the filmmaker. I know, right? Who would have thought that a rejected Star Wars script that was so bad even Disney wouldn't touch it, made by a man who hasn't produced a good movie in almost 15 years, would turn out to be an expensive disaster?
And he says that, and I think about it. The last Snyder movie I really liked was, like Watchmen, the full cut. Because while I like Man of Steel, there's a lot of things that I have trouble defending about it. Same thing with Batman versus Superman, et cetera, et cetera. And I couldn't even watch Army of the Dead. I got about halfway through and I bounced out.
Damn, man, even I had a tiny flicker of hope that Rebel Moon might turn out to be the next sci fi adventure epic that we've all been waiting for. But after suffering through it for what felt like 2 ice ages, I can confidently say that it won't. Instead of learning from all the criticisms and mistakes swirling around his previous movies, Snyder's somehow decided to double down on all of his worst tendencies as a filmmaker for this one. And the end result is a movie that's crushingly unoriginal and boring, desperately aping the structure and setup of Star Wars, but with every ounce of personality and
It's super disjointed, and it's so many scenes of movies you've seen before and have been done better. And what's funny is the people that like it are saying that like it's a good thing, and the people that hate it are obviously pointing out that but he just took direct scenes from other movies.
fun stripped away. So fuck it, let's just get this over with, shall we? Rebel Moon takes place in a galaxy far, far away, dominated by a conflict between an evil tyrannical empire that controls most of the major systems, and a small but growing resistance movement on the outer rim determined to win back their freedom. Our protagonist, on the other hand, lives a simple life as a farmer on an obscure planet far removed from the conflict. Well, that is until one day when the empire shows up and demands resources from them, forcing her to venture out from her sheltered life in search of someone who can lead her to the resistance. Soon her journey brings her to a local spaceport, a wretched hive of scum and villainy if you ever saw one, where she hooks up with a handsome rogue who agrees to take her off the
I could not take his accent. It was just a really people keep saying snatch. You like dags? It's some sort of weird Irish gypsy thing. It was painful, but thank God for that because he barely said anything.
planets. But it's not
Most of the companions, good freeze frame. Most of the companions, they get them. The side quest characters, they get them, and then they don't say anything for the most of the movie.
long before her efforts attract the attention of the Empire, who hope to use her as a means of finding the Resistance so they can use their giant orbital superweapon to crush them for goods.
Something very familiar about all this.
Oh my goodness, Zach, however do you come up with these original ideas? If I had to sum up Rebel Moon in a nutshell, I'd say it's Star Wars crossed with the Magnificent Seven, with all the fun, energy, wonder, and joy sucked out of it. It's a film without
And as Mahler pointed out, everyone sort of has the same backstory.
a distinct personality or a soul or even a valid reason for its own existence. It really is Zack Snyder's idea of what a space opera should look like, and it's just as bleak, grim, washed out, humorless, and grindingly slow as you'd expect. For a start, none of the characters have got anything even resembling a personality. Pretty much
Everyone's going for that flat, stoic, strong. It just does not work.
serious, subdued, stoic, and emotionally closed off. Really, they're nothing more than their predetermined archetypes: the disgraced general, the mysterious swordswoman, the
Who sort of sucked at sword fighting, which is ironic.
untrustworthy smuggler, the exiled prince, and the wide-eyed farm boy.
Who is written like a farm girl, and the main character core is written like a man. You can tell they're going for Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai, and instead she just comes off as a bit of a bitch, walled off with a bit of a complex. It doesn't work. She doesn't have the gravitas for it. She doesn't have the personality. No one has the personality for it. I don't care about any of these characters.
Jesus, even Cora, the main character, is your typical brooding ex-military operative with a dark past who just so happens to have a massive personal connection to the main antagonists. I know this because she straight up tells us her entire life story with a couple of excruciating monologues that go on forever and sound like they were written by a 12-year-old fanfic author. There's even a random droid voiced by Anthony Hopkins, of all people, who totally isn't trying to be.
And Anthony is sounding old. It's sad. I mean, just because of the fact that we're probably not going to have him around much longer.
C3PO, and who literally runs away about 30 minutes into the film and is never seen again. To be honest though, I can't really blame him, because I certainly wouldn't want to be in this fucking movie. Considering it clocks in at well over 2 hours, it's amazing how little time and effort the script spends on the dynamics of the main group. Watching a ragtag bunch of misfits with different skills and personalities sparking off each other and learning how to work together is the kind of easy win that any half-decent writer can exploit, but there's just nothing to latch onto here. Part of the problem, like I say, is that there's no strong personalities to bounce off each other, but the other big issue is that none of the characters even seem to have unique skills they can use.
No, I mean, he's like Taruk, the dinosaur hunter, Conan, but all he does is break a hippogriff in the beginning. And then later on, none of their skills, like he says, you think even if it's like a video game, different classes with different, nope. They all sort of have the same semi-useless thing that they offer. They're all just angry at the old world government, basically.
The general never gets to use his military experience or strategic thinking to plan some big operation. The prince's royal connections mean nothing to the group's mission. The swordswoman barely gets to use her plasma swords that are totally not lightsabers. Trust me. The end result is a bunch of
And everyone just stood there watching her in the fight. Like, no one was like, do you want, like, help?
sad generic sacks thrown together with no particular purpose in mind that I don't know anything about and pretty soon stopped caring. When one of them sacrifices his life to take down an enemy ship in a supposedly tragic moment, I felt absolutely nothing because I barely even knew who he was.
So many of the moments were just not earned whatsoever.
The protagonist isn't exactly a compelling window into this world either. Cora's just as boring and lifeless as everyone else in this movie, and she's not helped by an apathetic performance by Sofia Boutella. Boutella's been a star in the waiting for like 10 years now, and I'm beginning to suspect there's a reason she's never made it as a leading lady. Don't get me wrong, she's definitely got the physicality for a role like this, but she doesn't have the screen presence or the acting range to carry a film on her own. It's not much better on the production side of things either. The visuals are just as dark, murky, and washed out as every other.
People are praising it. I thought a lot of the shots looked horrible. Like you said, washed out, weird resolutions, blurry, slow-mo inside of slow-mo. And don't get me wrong, I love some Zack Snyder slow-mo, but damn.
Zack Snyder movie ever made, with the added bonus that most of the shots are frustratingly out of focus to the point where it feels like you're watching the movie through fucking cataracts. The action sequences are dull and lacking in energy, and overindulge Snyder's obsession with slow-mo shots at the most inappropriate times. And considering so much of the combat is up close and personal, the film's weirdly bloodless and neutered. You get the impression he wanted to do a much more gritty and violent kind of movie, but he was forced to hold back to get that all-important mass market appeal. Don't worry, Zach, nobody's going to watch this film anyway. Ultimately, if Star Wars was a dorky but enthusiastic teenager eager to have a game of D&D with you, then Rebel Moon is his moody, emo brother, desperately trying to replicate what he thinks is cool and edgy, but with no real personality of his
Yeah, who also has extreme ADD.
own. It's a film that lacks its own sense of identity and fails to inspire any sense of fun or adventure made by a man completely unsuited to the task he's given himself. Really, it was a waste of hundreds of millions of dollars, and more importantly, it was a waste of 134 minutes of my life. And for your sake, I suggest you don't make the same mistake I did. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Yeah, and I think that's the big takeaway. Thank you, Drinker. The big takeaway from this was just what a waste for all that money. What a waste for all that money compared to what we've seen other. I mean, look at what they did with Godzilla -1. Yeah, this is a no for me. I'm sorry. I tried to wind to like this. It sounded good, you know, but I'm starting to see why Kathleen Kennedy passed. Unfortunately, thanks. You've put me in a position to defend Kathleen Kennedy, and yeah, I'm not. You could probably sell that, like, for whatever reason this movie got chopped up like Batman versus Superman. That's why it's so disjointed, and that there's obviously, a 4-hour edit, like he said, that's R-rated and super awesome. I don't care. Unlike Batman versus Superman, where I definitely noticed the disjointedness, and when the extended cut came out, it fixed it. And I, for the most part, am okay with that film, even though I don't agree, obviously, with all the other things. For what it is, I like that film. This is, I don't care about seeing another version of it. I don't care about seeing the extended edition or the sequel or the part 2 of part 1. And it's, God, 4 parts total. It's enough. It's fine. It's fine. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. This is just me. If you liked it, that's great. You've got a whole another 3 other parts coming out. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Are you excited for more of this? Are you ready to see yeah, you thought it was disjointed, but wait till the R-rated comes out and the extended. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I will like it. If there's enough interest, I'll cover it. But other than that, I think I'm good on any future Rebel Moons. Let me know in the comments. Either way, check out Drinker. Obviously, he is the best that there is out there right now. Even the mainstream people are coming to see what Drinker thinks, as they should. Look at this, almost at 2 million. So like, subscribe. Thank you if you have, and thank you if you're going to. We'll see you on the next one.